The dust has settled a little bit here in the offseason. Cam Rogers coming at you for the 49ers Report. It's time to recap the offseason so far. All right, so we're going to start things off with players who the 49ers re-signed, including Brock Coyle to a 3-year deal, Gary Gilliam there as well, Jimmy Garoppolo, the franchise, then, of course, Cassius Marsh, and then you've got Mark Nzeocha there with a 1-year contract. So let's go and zone in on Jimmy Garoppolo because that makes the most sense to start things off. Of course, the Patriots traded him to San Francisco before the deadline in 2017. I don't think this is a big-time statement to say that the weight of the franchise is on his shoulders right now. 5 wins a year ago in his starts, and I'll tell you what, all the pieces are in place for him to be a successful quarterback. Bringing in a couple of offensive linemen such as Jonathan Cooper and Weston Richburg. You got McKinnon in the backfield. Pretty good core wide receivers. It's all there for Jimmy to make it happen. And I'll tell you this. By the time I'm on this show at the end of the season, Jimmy Garoppolo will be a top 10 quarterback, if not better than that. All right, so that's one name that I'm monitoring there with the players that the 49ers re-signed. How about Cassius Marsh, defensive end? This was a low-key important deal here because depth at edge rusher is really important for San Francisco. 2-year contract here. 49ers got him off waivers last November, and he was actually pretty productive in the small sample size that he had last year in those 6 games of 2017. Had a couple of sacks, couple of forced fumbles, so he made some plays here. So Cassius Marsh, don't sleep on him to make an impact coming around the edge for the 49ers. So that's the rundown with the players that San Francisco re-signed. How about the players that the 49ers lost? Looking at Leon Hall, veteran corner there. Logan Paulsen, tight end. Tank Carradine, he's now with the Raiders. Brandon Fusco is a bit of a surprise. He's now with the Falcons. And then Dontae Johnson, he's now with the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm pretty confident to say that the 49ers fans are okay with Dante going on over to Seattle. All right, so a couple names I want to zone in on here. Brandon Fusco, I thought maybe the 49ers were going to re-sign him just to create some continuity at the guard position. But it's clear to me that he wasn't in the future plans for San Francisco. And like I said, they addressed the guard position a little bit here with Jonathan Cooper coming on over. Weston Richburg, if they need him to be there, he can be there as well, but they'll supplant him at center. He's going to go on to the Atlanta Falcons there. And I think he'll be a fine player. But in terms of a longevity standpoint, I don't think Fusco is really in the plans for San Francisco, and I don't think 49ers fans are all that angry about it. Some more players that San Francisco lost. Aaron Lynch, now a member of the Chicago Bears. You got Carlos Hyde, now with the Cleveland Browns. Kilgore got traded to the Dolphins. That was a bit of a shock as well. And then Trent Brown, now with the New England Patriots here. So let's take a look at Aaron Lynch, who's now a member of Chicago, reuniting with his rookie year defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. So Aaron Lynch actually had a really good start to his career, but he only registered 2.5 sacks the last 2 years, had problems staying in shape, had durability issues, had that suspension in 2016. I think he'll be a good player for Chicago. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, though, that he's no longer a member of the 49ers. Carlos Hyde, meanwhile, he's with the Cleveland Browns and Duke Johnson and Baker Mayfield and all this good stuff. 3-year deal with Cleveland. Had a solid 2017 season, but I think it's fair to say Carlos Hyde just wasn't the right running back for Kyle Shanahan. I think Jerick McKinnon is a much better fit there on that offensive side. Carlos Hyde's going to have a fine season with Cleveland. The Browns have a solid offensive line with Zeitler and J.C. Treader and all these guys in the trenches, Bitonio as well. But for 49ers fans out there, I'm sure you guys aren't too sad about missing out on Carlos Hyde either. But I'm going to make you pick one. Which former 49er will you miss the most? Give me a heart for Carlos Hyde, a like for Brandon Fusco, laughing face for Aaron Lynch, and a wow face for Tank Carradine. All right, let's take a look at the players that the 49ers added so far this off season. Jeff Locke, Richard Sherman, cornerback there. Korey Toomer, linebacker. Jonathan Cooper coming on over from Dallas at the guard position. Let's take a look at Richard Sherman and his player card here. And we were waiting for so long to get that cornerback opposite Ahkello Witherspoon. Richard Sherman is that guy. All right, he is going to be the leader in that secondary, and I'll tell you what, the secondary is going to be a strength for this team. Witherspoon, Sherman, Tart, Colbert at safety as well. You got K'Wan Williams, DJ Reed, who's going to be a pretty darn good slot corner in his own right. The secondary is in fine shape, and it's kind of funny to think about 49ers fans. Like, remember when we were worried about the secondary months ago? John Lynch doing what John Lynch does, and made a big-time signing there with one Richard Sherman, going from Seattle, by the way, all the way to the 49ers, a rival. All right, so more additions here. Atachu, defensive end. He never had a big-time opportunity with the Chargers. Maybe he will with the 49ers. Jerick McKinnon, big-time signing, and I love that Weston Richburg signing as well. Let's take a look at McKinnon, and he got paid. 4-year deal. Kyle Shanahan wanted him so badly. He was in a bidding war with the New York Jets, and Shanahan never let down. And the 49ers ended up signing him, and I'll tell you what, Jerick McKinnon is going to be a fine player for that zone blocking scheme that the 49ers like to implement here. Watch out. I'm seeing predictions in the comments section on Facebook Live and YouTube from you guys saying that McKinnon could get 1,000 yards rushing. And honestly, it's very possible. I'll tell you what, it's very possible that he gets 1,000 yards from scrimmage. So we're talking about receiving and rushing. Jerick McKinnon, pretty darn good player, and will certainly be a focal point of that offense. But hey, you got to give some love to the front five, particularly with Weston Richburg, the former New York Giant. So Kilgore's gone, Weston Richburg is in, and I'll tell you what, big-time upgrade if we're talking about all things else kind of equal here, health, all this stuff. Richburg is the better player. Now, he went on IR with a concussion last November, but he'll be good to go. He'll be fine for the 2018 season. And one of the big-time focuses for me this offseason was protecting the franchise Jimmy Garoppolo, and that meant addressing the interior of the offensive line. I think Garnett has a future at guard. We'll see what Tomlinson can do. He's still trying to live up to his high draft pick. But there's also Jonathan Cooper, a few other players on that offensive line. That should do well for Jimmy G, but Richburg could very well be the MVP of the interior of that line. Of course, we got Joe Staley at left tackle, so he's always going to be the MVP of the entire offensive line. So, which new addition will have the biggest impact for the 49ers? Let me know in comments here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. All right, let's take a look at the draft picks from the 2018 NFL Draft. There is McGlinchey, Dante Pettis, Fred Warner, Tarvarius Moore, defensive back, Kentavious Street, DJ Reed, Marcel Harris out of Florida, Julian Taylor, defensive tackle out of Temple, and then Richie James, wide receiver out of Middle Tennessee State. And we'll start things off with taking a look at Mike McGlinchey. He's got a big-time future at right tackle. Now, there were reports that he struggled in pass protection against an undrafted free agent. And look, it's going to take time for McGlinchey to learn pass protection. But his run blocking is really solid. And that's all you can really ask for in a right tackle. If you're a good run blocker at right tackle, you're in the right spot. You can work on the pass protection and kind of go through the motions there with OTAs and training camp and learn from a really good coaching staff. So McGlinchey, I like the selection. I was a bit surprised, I'll say that much, but it made sense after Trent Brown was traded. All right, let's take a look at Dante Pettis. Electric college career there in Washington, and I'll tell you what, he's going to bring some of that to the 49ers, if not all of it. Drafted at number 59 overall, really good return ability. He's the reason why I think Trent Taylor is perhaps on the Pro Bowl track, because Taylor will see more opportunities at slot. You got Pettis there, who's going to be a big-time returner for San Francisco. All right, let's take a look at the linebacker position. We knew at some point the 49ers were going to go linebacker in the draft. Fred Warner out of BYU. Speedy player, going sideline to sideline. I love him in that regard. Potential for perhaps a Reuben Foster insurance policy. Now, best case scenario for Foster, he's acquitted or the charges are dropped, and for some reason Roger Goodell does not implement the 6-game suspension. But I'll tell you what, Roger has been fairly trigger happy in years past with laying down that suspension. So we'll see what happens, but I am a big fan of Warner. He needs to bulk up a bit, but I do like his speed, his pass coverage skills. DJ Reed, cornerback out of K-State, playmaker, has potential to be a solid slot corner, but I think he'll have a big-time opportunity to be really solid in the return game. We'll see if he can beat out Dante Pettis in terms of kick returns and punt returns. Could be really tough, but stay tuned on that one. Reed is on the smaller side and may need to bulk up a little bit, but again, he's not going to play outside corner or anything like that, so not too much pressure on him to hit the weight rooms. All right, let's take a look at the undrafted free agent signings, and we got a few of them. Corey Griffin, defensive back there. Dwelly, I like a lot, the tight end. Jeffrey Wilson, running back. Alan Knott, a center, who could perhaps be second in line to Weston Richburg. Chowda, defensive end. I talked about a player that Mike McGlinchey struggled with in pass protection. Chowda was that player, according to reports during rookie minicamp. McFadden, solid player. I think Niall Scott could be a good defensive tackle depth option there. And then some more names. How about Jack Hennigan, quarterback out of Dartmouth? Keep an eye on him as we go throughout the offseason. All right, folks, this has been the 49ers Report. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Take care.